Just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean that you automatically know whether you want to be a mum. Just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean you're maternal from the moment you take your first breath. Sometimes it just takes time, being with the right person and being in the right place. What do you think? Intrigued? Then just sit back, relax, and listen to this podcast episode to find out. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. During this podcast series, I will be interviewing 6 awesome women who will be sharing their mum stories with us. My guest today is Louise. Thank you for joining us today, Louise.
Pleasure.
So here we go. As you said whilst we were off air, here's the difficult question. Louise, who is Louise?
I mean, it's just what a question to start with. Who is Louise? I am a girl who came over from Ireland to study radiography. Meant to go back to Ireland a few years after that, and I didn't. So yeah, I'm Louise. I'm a radiographer, I'm a wife, I'm a mum, I'm a friend, I'm a personal stylist now. So yeah, I feel like I encompass lots of different things, I guess. That's probably the easiest, shortest answer to that.
There you go. So let's start at the very beginning. Did you always know that you wanted to be a mum?
Absolutely not. No.
Is that you didn't want to be a mum, or you didn't know that you wanted to be a mum?
I didn't really know the difference, I don't think, because I'm not, I've never been particularly a girly girl. I've never had that maternal streak in me. Interestingly, actually, at one point I mentioned it to my mum and she said she was the same. She was never really sure that she wanted to have children, funnily enough. So, yeah, absolutely not. So I suppose in my 20s, I thought maybe I didn't want to have kids, and I was having a great time traveling and going out for dinner with friends and living the life kind of thing. And then became a stepmom, and I suppose in that sense then had an insight into what it really is. But still was quite happy with that life, and I was a stepmom, but was still able to kind of live my life too. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. So no, I won't go into, I don't want to ruin any further questions, I suppose, that you might have, but no, I didn't know that I always wanted to be a mum.
Okay, so on that point, now, tell us your experience, your mum journey of, starting out as a stepmum,
Yeah.
which, not many people have an opportunity to experience being a mum before they're formally a mum in that sense.
Yeah, sure.
Right and through until you have your very own.
Yeah. No, it was good. I mean, I suppose I had a heads up of the real side of it. Although obviously my stepson was kind of with us half the time. It wasn't like he was with us the whole time. So yeah, it was. I still had, like I said, my life. But yeah, he was. I think 8 when we decided. Myself and my husband just kind of thought, we were obviously chatting about it, and we thought, well, let's just see. Shall we see what happens? Shall we see if we can get pregnant, kind of thing? And so yeah, we did, obviously. So my stepson was 9. So again, it was quite a lead up to it, if you like, before having Aiden. And yeah, wow, that was that was a rude awakening. I mean, I suppose, have a heads up, like I said, but I didn't. I mean, the first 6 months was just hard, really hard. And again, I suppose the fact that, I don't know, the fact that I'm not massively maternal, I felt like a little bit that I lacked this, what's the word, like this kind of inner sense that people have, that women have, you hear about, that they intuition. And I kind of thought, oh, do I have that? Am I just making this up? I feel like I'm kind of making it up. So yeah, I found the first 6 months hard. And then neither of us, my husband and I, don't have family in Bristol either. So that made it tough. Although, both families were brilliant and always would be on the doorstep the next day if we needed them, but there was never that immediate help. So yeah, it was an awakening.
So having been a stepmom for that amount of time and sort of, gathered information about what to do, what not to
Mm,
do, how children behave, how we respond to our
yeah.
children. What, like, knowledge and advice to yourself did you take with you into having your son?
Um, I think I was probably, well, I mean, I suppose in the early days it doesn't matter, but as time has gone on, I think I'm a bit more thoughtful, I suppose, in my actions and understanding that everything is seen and they're watching everything and they're taking everything on and they're learning everything. So just, I suppose, being mindful in my words and how I'm speaking, my actions, that kind of thing. So I suppose it's, yeah, it's made me more mindful of myself, of who I am and the example I'm setting. Um, but likewise, I also, I think, had an awareness that it is fun and it actually, again, there's that stuff. Maybe it's kind of what I was exposed to or what I was seeing, but there was so much of that dreariness of being a mum that you would see in the media or wherever or on TV. And actually, it's really good fun. And I quite like being a mum. And of course, it's horrendous at times and I love my sleep. But it is quite good fun. And so I think I was able to, because of that age gap, I was able to remind myself in those hard early days that actually it will become fun, because I'd seen that with my stepson, that you can have fun days out and you can watch silly programs on TV and have a laugh about it. And yeah, this isn't forever, this kind of sleep deprived moment.
I think you're right. If I think about the image and the persona mums get given
Mm,
in the media, it is usually that the mums are these downtrodden women,
mm,
and then the dad is
yeah,
the
yeah,
fun parent
breezes
that's,
in.
yeah, comes in. It's got nothing to do with, all the chores that need to be done and the
Yeah.
structure of life. And which actually isn't a very good reflection
No, no,
of what goes on at all. Because
no,
it's
not at all.
exactly like you said. Yes, we have to do things like
Yeah.
in work, we have to do admin and the stuff we don't like. In normal life, there are things that we have to do that we don't particularly look forward to, because
Mm,
otherwise we'd probably be very smelly. We'd walk around with unclean clothes and our houses would be a
yeah,
tip. But it can be fun if
yeah,
we
yeah,
decide to make it fun. It's
absolutely.
all
A lot of
about,
teamwork,
mhm.
definitely. But yeah, I quite enjoy. I mean, my son is 7 now, and so that's a different age again, isn't it? But he's quite good fun. The stuff that he comes out with. And I don't do the thing that everyone says to write all these things down, which I really should. But um, but yeah, we have some fun times together, just me and him, and yeah, it is fun too, and I think it's a useful reminder for people.
It's a great reminder. I'm going to take you back a little bit because I just want to hear more about you saying that the first 6 months
Mhm.
you didn't particularly like, and I think I agree with you. For me, I think that's the most difficult, because you have this baby that cannot tell you with using words what's going on, and it does feel like it's guesswork. What was your experience of those first 6 months?
Um, just he didn't sleep. It's the sleep. And I think, I mean, a bit of it on the breastfeeding I found tricky initially as well. And I think with that, I assumed that nature would do its thing and that the baby would know what to do, with a little bit of, in a few days. But no, you have to kind of teach them too with the sleeping or the breastfeeding or whatever it is. Um, and perhaps some of that is, like I said, down to me not having kind of lots of younger nieces and nephews around when I was growing up. And so maybe I would have been exposed to some of that. I don't know. But yeah, it was tough. And like my husband at the time worked in the NHS. He's still my husband. He's since left the NHS, when I say at the time. Um, just to be clear. But so there was shift work and him coming in late. And then I remember one specific occasion where I mean, how our neighbours didn't complain, but Aidan was screaming and screaming again. And Benny had just come in from a 12-hour shift. And I just thought, God, he doesn't need this, listening to this screaming after he's just come in from a long shift. And I didn't know what to do anymore. And it was just, it's an emotional time. And there
Mm.
are times where you just have to just step away. And again, I remember another time speaking to my mum on the phone, and she was like, "What's that noise in the background?" I was like, "Oh, that's him screaming." I just had to walk away, for him and for me. Um, but yeah, suddenly, well, I think it was suddenly, I don't know, but yeah, he began to sleep. And sleep, as we all know, is a game changer in any realm of life. So yeah, suddenly things became a lot more manageable and rational. So
I
yeah.
don't know about you, but the as part of my NCT group, I gave birth to my daughter sort of in the middle of our group. So there were some ladies who had already become a mum, and and I was waiting to become a mum.
Mm,
And so they were always a few weeks ahead of me. So I'd
yeah.
be there going, so has your baby started sleeping through the night? Because like you said, you're just holding on, or I was holding on to that time
Mm,
where I could sleep for a good amount of time at night
mm,
rather than the broken having to get up every 3 to 4 hours, because
mm,
it's knackering.
mm. Oh, totally, totally.
It really
I
takes it
remember
out of you.
there was this workman we had. We were having something done in the house, and I can't remember. Again, Aidan he must have been still 5 months, and I had just gone to bed. I think he'd gone to sleep, so I was like, right, I'm going to sleep. And this guy had brought in the washing from the line for me because obviously it started to rain. And I mean, I could have married him. I was in tears because it was just the kindest thing he did for me in that moment, and it just meant so much to me that he brought the washing in from the line for me because I was having a nap. And yeah, it's just you're a different it's just sleep. It's just a different person, I suppose, you come when you're that sleep deprived. You can see why it's a form of torture.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So I want to slightly digress from you being a mum and talk about
Mm,
more you, Louise, because obviously you mentioned at the beginning that you are a radiographer.
mm,
However, you also help women in a different way.
mm.
Tell me a little bit more about your, I'm going to call it a side hustle. It's not really a side hustle.
No, that's
Go
okay.
on, Louise.
Um, so it probably really started when about a year after I'd had Aidan, and I think it was someone I'd followed on Instagram or something, and then I saw she had used a personal stylist, and again I was starting to Aidan was a year, and I was starting to be able to feel a bit more like me again, but not quite right. So anyway, long story short, I hired services of a lovely personal stylist who came to my home and just helped me get back to myself again and feel like how I was presenting myself was how I wanted to and how I felt. And then skip forward a few years later, about 2 years ago, a friend gifted me some sessions with a life coach. And basically, it was one of those talks. I was never on my mind at all, but that a bit like your first question, who is Louise Lawton? She said to me, are you happy? And I was like, oh God, that's a bit of a massive question. Like to go with that. Long story short, again, I then decided actually I don't want to do just radiography forever. And I have got a kind of creative side to me that I've not really, I suppose, explored or done anything with for quite a few years. Um, and remembered back to my experience with that personal stylist, and I've always enjoyed clothes, not necessarily in a fashion, kind of way trend thing, but just in terms of how they can feel and how they can make you feel. And so yeah, I trained then to be a personal stylist. Again, probably about 2 years ago now. And so I have this business that I do. So I work part time as a radiographer, and I have this that I'm running myself as a small business the last 2 years or so. So yeah,
But it's the thing, isn't it? When we become mum, so we're busy being single, or single as far as not having a dependent that's
yeah,
literally on us all the time. Then we become a mum, and it feels like our lives have been taken over.
yeah,
And if we're not careful, we either don't get our life back, or it's not until our children have fled the nest
mm,
where we think, oh, we can start living now.
yeah,
Whereas you've obviously taken the bull by the horns, which is amazing, and I think is an inspiration to mums and women, where it doesn't matter at what point you have your children,
Mm.
whether you're young, old, whether you but you can always focus on you. And especially like having a child at 1 year old and trying to balance that,
Mm.
having not just one job, but two, because you part-time radiographer and you've got your styling business. Anything is possible. A, if
Yeah,
you want to
definitely.
do it, and B, if you manage yourself in a way that means you can do it.
Mm. And I think that's really important. Again, I think it's a bit of a misconception out there, a bit like what I said before, in terms of what I had kind of perceived motherhood to be. But yeah, it doesn't have to define you. I've certainly, don't get me wrong, being a mother is probably the best thing I've ever done, but it doesn't define me. And I'm very kind of clear that I like to think I'm not one of those people that talks about my kids all the time. That's just not me. Um, I like to have interests and I like to kind of still feel like me also. And I think that's really important. So yeah, just crack on. There's no time like the present, if there's anything like that. The thought of having to wait, if I'd felt like I had to wait to do that, once I realized that this was something I wanted to pursue, yeah, I couldn't have waited 10, 15 years for him to, I don't know, be going to leaving home. Like I wouldn't, that's ridiculous. Just, yeah, crack
And I
on.
want everybody who's listening to this to take that key message away from them, that your words, motherhood doesn't define you.
Mm.
It's just another role that we play in our course of living, an important role, but it doesn't have to
Definitely.
define you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
So
I don't know. There's just a lot of those kind of um things again that we see on TV. But yeah, it is possible to, yeah, to still be you.
I think it's when you see those programs, but probably not so much now, where there's the mum, it has everything under control, she looks great, she knows where everything is, she's got the children ready, she's making a home cooked breakfast, lunch, dinner,
Yeah, yeah.
and everything's just running smoothly, and we know, well, A, that's not reality,
No, not at all.
and B, it's not about you providing all these services to your children. It's
Mm,
like what you said at the earlier. It's a team effort, and
mm,
obviously, as our children get older, that means that they're included in the team effort.
absolutely. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that means it also frees up time for us to do more of the things that we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's teamwork is a massive thing, and I couldn't have done like this. I couldn't have done it at all without the support of my husband, with family around us as well. Have helped out when I've wanted to do various training things. But yeah, teamwork is huge, massive.
So, if you were to go back in time and give yourself some advice, what advice would you give yourself?
I mean, I think to go back in time almost um, implies I would do something different. And I don't know that I would really. I don't know what I could have done differently. I would 100% do my pelvic floor exercises a lot more than I did. I mean, that's probably not what you're looking for, but oh my God. But we
No,
don't need
that's
to go into
great.
that.
No, that is great because I think a lot of people are probably nodding their heads going, yeah, we probably didn't take it too seriously. And now we realise we should have.
Yeah, defo. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I've listened to some of your other episodes, and people have said like don't sweat the small stuff, and absolutely. But at the time, the fact that your child has screamed for 4 hours is quite a big thing in that moment, and so you are going to sweat it. But so yeah, if I had to pick a serious one, probably don't sweat the small stuff. But yeah, I don't know that I would have done anything differently. It's you get through it, get your head down and get through it.
You do. I think the fact is, we don't have much of a choice, do we, really? You either have to grit your teeth and just persevere and get through it, knowing that this too will pass and we will come
Exactly.
out the other side,
Yeah,
or you just sort of give up and let the chaos ensue.
absolutely. And it's all those things are true, aren't they? They're cliches, but they're a cliche for a reason. And and it's not that you don't believe them in the time when grandmother comes around and says to you, you know, it won't be like this forever. And you hear the words, but it just doesn't mean anything to you in that moment because it's just a bit of a tidal wave of everything. But yeah.
So based on that, is there anything you wish you knew before you became a mum?
I think definitely that you don't have to feel massively maternal to be a good mum. Like I think that's something that kind of worried me a little bit beforehand. Even when I was pregnant, I kind of thought, oh God, am I going to be any good? Like, yeah, because I just didn't, as I said, I never had that motherly. Even now, I think I'm probably a bit awkward around other people's kids. I just doesn't come naturally to me. And so I think probably that just reassurance that actually just because you're not, yeah, I don't know how the way to put it, but maternally, motherly, whatever, doesn't mean you're not going to be a good mum. Like it's okay, and you are still meant to have kids, or I don't know, whatever, you know. But it's just that reassurance that not everyone is like that. Everyone's a little bit different, and that's okay.
Everybody is different because as individuals, as mums, we're all different, and each child is different.
Exactly.
And so you're never going to get exactly the same two people interacting with each other. So yeah, we're all unique, which is wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody else?
Probably everything. I'm repeating everything probably now, but probably that not to forget who you are. That and again, it's ebbs and flows, doesn't it? There are times where you obviously can't focus on yourself at all. Like that's just not realistic. But that you can come back to yourself, and that's important actually, because then that allows you to be that, you know, better person for your child or children. And it's a good example for them to see that as well. I think that, you know, you are doing your, I don't know, tennis or whatever your hobbies might be. I don't know, that you are giving yourself some time, I think. So I think just to remember who you are when you're able to think about yourself again. But yeah, I just think that's really important. I just think it's yeah, because I suppose I'd hate to be that person when the child moves out of home to then be like, oh God, now what? You know, and again, maybe that doesn't happen at all. I don't know. Maybe some book I've read, but I just think, yeah, it's just important to remember who you are ultimately.
Well, I think there's two things in it there, isn't there? First of all, we are a role model to our children, whichever way they take that. They might
Yeah.
take it in a positive way, they might take it in a negative way. So it is really important that it's not just the words we speak, but the actions
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
as well. And you're right. We don't, as mums, heaven forbid, we don't want to get to the age of where they've left home and then we're just sat there going, right.
Yeah.
So
What did I used to do?
yeah, what do I do
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. Totally. So yeah, it's just and it's that reminder, I suppose, as well, before you have kids, that actually that will come back. Don't be afraid that, like, you don't lose yourself. It's okay. Like, you will still be you. This is just another string to your bow kind of thing. Yeah.
So we are coming to the end of our episode, our podcast together.
Oh.
I have two questions left for you. The first one is, because we've covered quite a bit of ground in this short amount of time.
Yeah.
What three things would you like our listeners to take away from this conversation?
That that being a mother is fun. That it is fun, and there's so much laughs and so much ridiculousness, and that's really nice. You know, it's not all discipline and yeah, getting them to eat vegetables. But yeah, it is good fun. And again, I know I keep kind of saying the same thing, sorry, but just that, yeah, you don't have to be a maternal woman to be a good mum. I just think that's maybe not out there enough. Um, and third thing would probably to remember for self-care, that, you know, that it's important to, which kind of encompasses loads of things. That's probably a cheeky one to get in, but I just think, yeah, it's self-care. It was someone, a friend of my mum's once said to me that self-care is not selfish care, and it's always stuck with me. And I just think that's, yeah, really important, because again, it allows you to be your best person, and that obviously then ricochets off everyone else.
Mm. And finally, our audience will have been listening, goes, Louise sounds like a fascinating woman. I need to connect with her. How is the easiest and best way for people to get in touch and connect with you, Louise?
So I have a website, which is stylegalore.co.uk. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as Style Galore with Lou, the same handle for both. So yeah, they can drop me a message. That'd be lovely.
See, dead easy, really simple.
Easy.
That's what we like.
Exactly.
So that just leaves me to say thank you very much, Louise, for being honest and sharing your mum's story with us today. And
pleasure. It's been lovely.
Oh,
thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of What the Mum. If you enjoyed it, I've just got a little favour to ask you. Go ahead and tell all your mum friends so that more mums can share their stories of motherhood. And also, don't forget to subscribe and come and connect with me. Take care, everyone, and see you at the next episode.